Hi guys! Today I would like to review for you the Carandache Studio Gouache set that I got a while ago actually, and I think it arrives the moment to speak a little bit further about this set, especially because it is quite a unique product. As far as I know, I don't think that any other brand is producing any hard pan gouache, so I think it's quite interesting to speak in details about this palette. So without further ado, let's get started! The palette is a metal box. It's quite sturdy and quite bulky. I didn't have the piece of paper that wrap around the palette originally, so I will put a photo here. When you open the palette, inside you will find the color chart with all the swatches of all the colors that are contained inside, and this color chart is on normal paper, so later on you will see me do the swatches on watercolor paper. On the color chart you won't find pigment's name or light fastness data, just a number code that indicates the color. Inside the box you will find a white gouache tube, and in particular it contains 10 ml of white and can be mixed with every other color that you will find in the palette. In the box you will also find a brush, and this is the number 8 round brush, and the bristles of the brush are very soft, and it seems to be quite a good quality brush. The pen can be easily removed from the plastic support that you will find inside the palette. The colors are inside this plastic bag. The quantity is quite big, and on one side you will find the color code that corresponds to the color of the color chart. But as you can see, there is no light fastness and no pigments data on the pen. Inside the palette there are 14 colors, and you will find primary colors, warm and cold undertone, then there are some greens, earthy color, and there is a grey that is quite an unusual kind of choice for a palette, and there is a black and a tube of white. One thing that I would like to point it out is that the black and the grey in particular have some granulation on the surface, and now I will try to show you in camera what I mean. There are some sort of bubble all around the surface, and I will also show you later that it will show up a little bit also when the colors dry on paper. But I wanted to show you that because the first time that I got the palette and I noticed that, I wasn't sure if that was normal, but then I look up online and I see that many people have the same concern. As you can see, the plastic support in which all the single span are in is easily to remove, and then you remain with the empty metal box that is very sturdy, and actually you can use it to store other art supply when you finish the color, or if you would like to move the color in another smaller box. The color can be very easily removed from the support, so you can put them everywhere to travel around with them. So now I would like to swatch all the color on watercolor paper. I started with the yellows, and as you can see, the only information that we have is the name of the color and the code number of the color. Unfortunately, I tried also to look up online, but I didn't find any official kind of light fastness data. I just found one online shop that sells the single pen, but I don't think it's so easy to get single pens if you finish some of the color in the palette, and this is quite inconvenient in my opinion. As you can see, when I swatched the white, before I did a little black square with the Sakura waterproof pen to verify the opacity of the white color. And as you can see, when the colors dry out, actually the little black square shows through the white, so I can say that the white is not completely opaque, and you will see also later while I'm painting, while some other colors are very smooth in the result and very pigmented. There are some colors that result quite transparent, and in particular some brush strokes are visible, in particular with the blues and some grays. And as I said, with the gray instead you can see some little granulation on the surface also when the color dry out. And here I would like to try to show you what I mean saying that, and I hope that it shows through the camera. Now I started a little demo, and I would like to speak to you in general about my thoughts about this palette. First of all, I think that the colors are very vibrant. I really love how they show on the page. Some of the colors have higher opacity and some of them are quite transparent. In particular, during this painting you see that the pink that I obtained with magenta and white is quite opaque, but this is because I mixed the magenta with white. In fact, if you would like to obtain more opacity, you can just mix the white with the other color. The problem is that with the white, of course, all the colors become a little bit more pastel kind of color and lighter. So this is a downside, especially if you need very dark colors. I have to say that in general the color layer on top of each other very well. I find a little bit more difficult to re-wet them after they dry out. I notice also these months that the color blend together very well. And of course, the opacity is not the reason why you buy this color. In fact, you have to think that the art pan have to be activated with water, and every time that you use water on a color, you dilute the color a little bit and it lost the opacity. I think that the best description of this palette is kind of gouache with a watercolor feeling, because actually the result is not 100% opaque like a gouache, but at the same time is not as transparent as watercolor, so it's something that stays in the middle, and we can say that it's totally unique speaking of wet mediums. The white is opaque, but actually is not as opaque as other whites that I have in my gouache collection. In the end, I have to say that I really love the final result that I can obtain with this color. In general, I think that these colors are very beginner friendly, and every time that I use this color I am quite satisfied with the final result, even if they are not so pigmented. So I think that they are very useful, especially if you are just starting out with wet mediums in general. And maybe if you don't know if you want to work with gouache or watercolors yet, is a good alternative. Also, I think another good point of these colors is that they are very travel friendly. You can bring them with you everywhere very easily, and this for me is a very good point. Another good point is that these are completely unique. There is not on the market, as far as I know, another kind of product like this. A downside of this color is for sure the price, because they are quite expensive, especially this palette can cost around 40 euros, 50 euros, it depends, on Amazon for example. But you can find a professional set also for this kind of price, especially with offers, like for example if I think to Winsor & Newton gouache designer that are completely professional colors, sometimes I can find them at the same price when they are on sale, so it's something to keep in mind. Another downside for me is that there are no data, official data from Carandache about the light fastness of these colors, so I can't use them for professional work in general. And that's it, guys. I really hope you enjoyed the video. If so, please give us a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to don't miss any other content. See you next time. Moi moi!